Hey everybody, Steve here from The Varied Life, and today is going to be kind of interesting. We're going to do a live stream like we've done in the past, except we're going to be doing a cut test with my Wainlux K10 laser engraver. It's a 5-watt laser, desktop model, and yeah, we did in previous videos. Yeah, it's raining here in Korea. So we did some test pieces, and on the Wainlux, the software that they have is CutLab X, and then I ended up getting Lightburn. So I shelled out a few shekels and started doing tests on that. And what's interesting is when you compare the two, you will see that you get different results using the CutLab X versus the Lightburn. So that's kind of some interesting information. The other thing I ended up doing is the reason that you want to do a grid test to find out the best looking engraving for the project that you're doing. And so usually what you'll end up having is you'll have like a reference sheet like this that'll say, you know, well, we've got some basswood or MDF or wood pine board or oak or whatever. And it'll give you the type of scanning that you're going to do, the interval, and the distance between the lines that the laser is going to go over, and then the speed of the laser and the power of the laser. And so the test, the grid test, that what you could end up doing when you take a look at a grid test is to go a little bit below and then go a little bit above with different speed settings on this side and then different power levels on the bottom. And so what that'll give you a good mixture, and so that way you can say, okay, well, for the project that I'm doing and the graphic that I have, I think this one here would be the good setting for that material, for my laser, for that software, because I've noticed some differences between the two different types of software. So with that being said, let's jump into the mix. And like I said, what we end up having is my K10 from Wainlux. There it is in all its glory, so we're back here. But now what we're going to end up doing is we're going to switch over here to Lightburn, which is kind of similar. Man, it's really starting to rain. Hopefully there's not. I've got my window cracked a little bit because I'm trying to vent all this stuff out when we do the engraving and cutting. So here's kind of like a thing that I wanted to do, and it's like, well, this red line, it represents the cut line that's going to cut this 3.3 millimeter basswood. But the problem is I didn't really know for sure whether the settings that I got from Wainlux would work. And so what I ended up finding is that the people from Wainlux on their Facebook page, they turned me on to this cutting and engraving parameter worksheet from it that was in Excel, and it shows, you know, different types of engraving, different types of materials, the speed, the power, the interval, minimum power, grayscale, and so on and so forth. And then further down, it also has the same thing. Man, it is really, really. I don't think it's getting wet in here. No, it's not. I think I'm okay. But in the same manner, you have all these different materials that we have listed here, and it shows the speed, the max power, the mode that they're going to be, which is line, because if you're doing a cut test, and the number of passes. So in other words, if you're cutting out a circle on your 3 millimeter board and you're doing the circle, how fast is that laser going to travel, and what is the power setting of that laser to cut through that 3 millimeter material or whatever material you have. You can't just put everything at, you know, the same speed and the same max power, because you will get different results. Some materials, you obviously, by looking at this, everything is going to be 100%. But when we look at, let me kind of zoom in on this here, but we see that speed can vary from 500 to 100 to 800, you know, to 1,000. 3 millimeter polyvinyl chloride is 1,000 millimeters per minute. Leather is 300. So there's a wide range of settings for the different materials. So, excuse me, the cut test, the whole purpose of the cut test is to find out which are the optimal settings for your machine and your software and so on and so forth. So that's kind of a cool thing that we have there. Now, if we notice for cutting, a 3mm basswood is a speed of 500 with a max power of 100. Well, what we want to do with Lightburn, and the cool thing, I've been playing around with Lightburn a little bit, and this is Lightburn 1.7.01. And if we go along the top here, we've got some different things. And on the very top, over here, we see Lightburn, File, Edit Tools, all different things. And then we have laser tools. So when we get to the laser tools, we can go to a material test. So this is the window that pops up for the material test. And we'll make this bigger for y'all. And what we can end up doing is creating a grid system like we did here for the engraving test, and we can make our own cut test. So what we're going to end up doing is, because cutting according to the little reference sheet or the Excel or whatever, we're looking at 500 speed and we're looking at 100% power. But I don't want to do a grid of 10 by 10 because obviously we're just going to be wasting time. So what I'm going to end up doing is we're going to take the speed settings and we're going to set that to 5. And again, it's already defaulted to speed. It's got some other settings. You can change that if you want, but there's no reason to. And the minimum that we want to do is 300, not 3,000, 300 millimeters per minute. And the max that we want to do is the 500 because that's the reference. And maybe actually, because 500 was, let's make this 700. We'll make it 700 millimeters per minute. And then the height and the shape of the square, the test square is going to be 5 millimeters. The Y center, 40 millimeters. I have no clue what that is. So if you know what that is, put it in the comment section down below. And over here we go to our power settings, which is on the bottom of our graph. And again, what we're going to end up doing, we're just going to use 4. And we're going to do power. And with power, we're going to go from, say, 70% to 100%. And we're going to leave everything like this. So when we go over here and click preview, this is what we end up getting. Now this is what is going to be printed, and eventually we will get, I keep looking back at the rain because I got my window cracked about like that much. And I think we should be all right. I don't know, I'll jump over the wire and see. But what this will end up doing is giving us on this column here, which is speed, so I have 300, 400, 5, 6, and 700 as far as the speed of the laser. Down here along the bottom, we have power of 70, 80, 90, and 100. You can't go over 100, so 100 is going to be it. So I'm pretty sure if we go, we'll get, according to the spreadsheet from Wainlux, the 100% power at 500 speed will result in cuts. But we want to verify. Trust, but verify. And that's what I learned in the military. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And actually on this little thing, you can actually, there's a playback that you can actually hit play. And it'll show where the laser is going to go and do all this stuff in the order, which is really cool. And then we also get total cut distance, we get rapid moves, and then we get the total estimated time. And then the red line shows the path of the laser and then when it actually cuts something. So you get a good visual representation of what the laser is going to do. So as you're watching it, you can kind of get an idea and say, okay, well, it's screwing up. I need to stop the cut test. But I haven't run into any time where I've needed to stop a test. Now, it should be noted that we need to be careful because the power being at 100, even though it's only a 5-watt laser, there still is the risk of something catching on fire. And since the K10 over here is just a is just an air-cooled system. There is no built-in air system. Yeah, that's what we're going to end up. We got to keep an eye on that. So safety first. So this completes, and it should be a total time of 2 minutes and 13 seconds. So we're just going to go ahead and hit OK. I think we're everything good. Now what we want to do is go over here to frame, and frame as we look on our engraver, it'll run the laser around the perimeter of where it's going to engrave. So that way we can actually take a look and see where we're going. So we'll go back to this previous page, and we'll go there, and what we'll do is we already have material in there. We already set our lens height, laser height, and we're going to hit frame. Okay, that's a pretty small test, but that's okay. Everything's in frame. So what we'll end up doing is, again, we'll just hit the preview one more time. And let me get back to here. And we'll just hit the preview one more time to make sure everything is good. A pretty small test grid, and this is going to test the cut of these different squares. So obviously we're going to have some squares that are going to be cut out, and then we're going to have other ones that aren't. So with that being said, we already framed everything out, and we are good. And now we'll just go ahead and hit start. Now that's going to send this wirelessly, and we'll go take a look at this. Just kind of make that smaller. And I'm not seeing a lot of color on there. So that's kind of interesting. Oh, the joy of live streaming and doing stuff that you've never done before. Let's see, can we zoom in on that? I don't think we can. And it's supposed to be engraving. Okay, now it's doing the squares. I think what happened was, yeah, I think I know what happened. I didn't check the settings for the text, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't strong enough to get those settings to get the test to come out. But it's doing all the squares. And I think we're on the 300. And now it's doing the perimeter, the border. It's actually going to be cutting that out, hopefully, and not burning too much a hole in my desk, in my hobby mat. But we will see. Okay, so that completed that. And so if we lift this up, and we see that, yeah, we got that there, and we didn't have anything cut through. Not even close. So, interesting. So what we can end up doing now is actually going through and make some adjustments. So since we didn't get any lettering and all that, we have to go back and we'll give that a shot and see, enter the settings for the text, because obviously I didn't do that right. So, alrighty. So let's go back. We'll go back here, and if we look, we see all this stuff, 70%, power's good, speed's good. nothing cut out. So that whole thing about 500 at 100%. Interesting. Here's the thing that I messed up was go down here to edit the text. And the speed was set to 6,000 at 20%, so no wonder. This is very different, so let's try 3,000 and we'll do 50%. I think that's it. We do not have air assist. It's going to be fill for the text, so that's kind of important to do. Line interval 0.001, if I remember correctly. The lines per inch, that's going to be a little bit much. Overscan is kind of interesting. Fill all shapes at once. Sure, why not? We'll see what happens. Okay. And if we go to the material testing, oh, okay, this is interesting. The cut setting, which is going to be 500. Oops. So I knew I forgot some things. And 100. Yeah, it's raining here in Korea. And that's going to be a line. We don't have air assist. So we're good there. Number of passes 1. Imagine that. If you don't set the settings, it won't work right. Border setting. We did the border setting of 500 and the max power of 100, and we don't have air assist. Number of passes 1. Line. So we should be good on that. So now what we end up doing is we got to get some more basswood here. So I apologize for not getting this all done. I wish I should have had I thought about actually cutting out a few of these, but I said, oh, I'm only going to need one. Go figure. You know, the time that you need more than one, yeah, you need more than one. So. The joy. But I can chalk this up to being a newbie with laser engraving. And so I got to cut this stuff out with an X-Acto knife, and there's that. I live in an apartment. So my question is, I've seen mini hobby table saws or scroll saws and stuff like that. I'm wondering if that would be worth getting. Does anybody have any of those? And would you recommend that? I don't know. Put it in the comment section. Okay, so we're going to go back. And we're going to put this back in here. And we should be pretty much within the ballpark, because it was kind of like that, so I'm pretty sure we're going to get that. So let's go back to that. Seriously, really? We're gonna, there we go, there I am. Now we're gonna go back to our Lightburn, and now we're gonna double check again because I didn't double check before. And the title will just say 3mm basswood cut test. So again, we're doing a count of 5 for the speed settings, which will go from 300 to 700. Remember that we saw on the Excel file, which showed the 3mm basswood, to be able to cut it was a speed of 500, a max power of 100. And again, we're using a what is it, 5-watt laser? 5-watt laser. And everything else is good there. Then for the power setting, we're going to have a minimum of 70, a max of 100. And that is what it's going to look like there. Okay. Total time estimated 21 minutes. How about we get rid of that because we know we're cutting basswood. That drops it down to 17 minutes. Okay. And I think the reason some of this because I had to add these other settings. So like for the materials, we're doing 500 speed, max 100 for the cutting. And it's weird because you set it on your, your rows and columns for your speed and your power, but then you got to go here into your cut settings and actually set the cut settings, which is kind of an odd thing. I'm not sure why it does that, but supposedly this is how it works. So we got that, and then the text, if I remember correctly, was 3,000 speed with a max power of 50%. That's going to be fill. The other stuff should be good to go. Blah, blah, blah. We're not going to do cross-hatching. And then the final border setting is going to be a speed of 500 and 100 because it's supposed to cut out that thing from the thing. And so now what we'll end up doing is we'll hit the preview button, and that's what we got up. Now it's 17 minutes. Okay. Maybe because I actually put the right settings in there. And we're going to do frame. Okay, and we're good to go. But just because I want you to see what's going on, let's just go ahead and where is it? There it is. Let's go ahead and we'll do the frame. And you can see the laser on the material. That's the area in which it's going to go. So I think we're good to go there. So now, let's go ahead and we'll hit start. And now, we'll see what this ends up doing. We're getting a little bit of color, more than what we were getting before. But it's still a small test, so I'm wondering why it's going to take so long. Oh, I think I know why. I think I know why. I think I do know why. If we go back here, was it material setting? Number of passes, no, it wasn't that. Text, lines per inch, 2,540. You think that might have something to do with it? Lines per inch. That is going to be a lot. I wonder if I could adjust this on the fly. And maybe just do 500 and hit OK. Does that reduce our, comes down to 4 minutes. So let's go ahead and stop. And let's double check this. So what ended up happening is I had lines per inch was like 2,500 lines per inch. Now it's down to 500 lines per inch. I have no idea if that's doable or not. Let's preview this again and frame this. And let's just run this again and see what the hell happens. Let's go back here. Oh yeah, that's a lot faster. And we can read it too. So good. I'm gonna make sure that the light doesn't come through the window here. Just need the window open enough to vent this stuff out. So we got our power settings. it's putting the text for the power that was supposed to be, what was it? 70, 80, 90, and 100% power. So we got that going on. So, camera overlay, we'll throw my happy little butt in there. Kind of see what we got going on. So the interesting thing is the Wainlux CutLab X software doesn't have that adjustment for how many lines per square or per inch. So when it said at 2,540, that's why it ended up, because it had to print or engrave more lines. That's why it ended up being 17 minutes or almost 20 minutes or whatever. So when I reduced it down to 500 lines per inch, now it's down to a more manageable 4-minute time. Oh, that's coming out nice. Yeah. Yeah, the lettering on that is nice. That is coming out good. And yeah, I'll end up, this is just kind of like a last minute thing that I'm doing. So next time I'll get the camera a little bit closer somehow. My USB cord is only so long for the camera, but lessons learned. So what I found out very interesting is the difference between the supplied CutLab X software, which is pretty decent, is that there is difference between the quality of the engraving with that versus the Lightburn and what you're able to do. And obviously, if you can manipulate in another variable that you can have X amount of inches or X amount of lines per inch, that means you can get some really fine details. Whereas the CutLab X, it doesn't have that option, or at least I haven't found that option. So let's see what we got here. Okay, now it's doing the cutting. We're at 600, at 70, 600, at 80, 90, 100. Now we're at 500, at 80, 500 at 90, 500 at 100%, 400 at 70, 400 at 80, 90, 100%, and then 300 at 70%, 300 at 80%, 300 at 90%, and 300 at 100%. And now it's going to go ahead and do the border, and we'll see if this cuts through. So the importance of doing your test is that you want to verify and make sure that you're going to get the engraving that you want, but with a cut test to make sure that you're going to get the cuts that you actually want. Okay, so now that that's finished up, will we have, and it still didn't cut through. Interesting. We got the same thing. So basically, yeah, it just like engraved the line. It didn't even get to a place, but what we do see is that it has some really, really nice, see if we can get a little bit closer. We got some really, really nice lettering, as you can see there. So the quality of the lettering is pretty good. but it's just not cutting the way we want it to cut. And let's take a look at our little X-Acto knife and see if we can feel. Yeah, it's very minimal. So, interesting. Material setting. We set it at 500 with max power, so we might have to adjust this. So let's drop this down to 300. Should probably show you what I'm doing. So what I ended up doing is going down here to editing this, because the 500 and 100, 500 speed at 100% power is not working. So let's drop this to 300. We'll do that, and 300 speed, but we still didn't get anything cut out at 100. So maybe 200, and we'll go to 500. And constant power mode. Force the laser to be constant regardless of the current movement speed. I don't think we need to do that. We've got it online. Number of passes 1. And I think we're good there. We've got the text and everything, which is good. And we ended up lines per square inch. That came out really nice. You can take a look at that there. The lettering and everything came out great, which is really nice. I might want it a little bit darker. Let's just make this 60% power. Lines per interval, blah, 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 lines per square inch. I think we're good on that. And then the border setting, what did we make that other one? We made it 300, but we wanted 200. Let's just try 300 and see what happens. We'll drop this to 300 and we'll see if it cuts. Okay. So now 200, 275, 350, 425, and 500. Well, we automatically know that the 500 at 100% isn't going to cut. So maybe we should go from 100 to 300. I think that's what we'll end up doing. So 100 with a max of 300. And we will see how this goes. Okay. And I think what we can do is we can just turn this over, because yeah, it's barely dug in here at all. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of put it on the opposite side. And I think that'll be good enough for government work. And what we'll end up doing is we'll check the, so that's okay. We'll check the frame. And maybe I'll move that around. Hey, no, I don't want preview, I want frame. Okay. I think that'll be good. And let's see, the preview, it's going to take 6 minutes, 26 seconds. And we're going to have a speed of 100, 150, 200. Of course, you probably want to see what I'm doing here. We'll have a speed of 100, 150, 200, 250, and 300. But we didn't get any cuts at 300 at 100%, so we kind of know that top is going to be out there. But we still have our power settings of 70, 80, 90, and 100%. So, and we'll double check there, 300 at 100%. Our text, 3060% power. And maybe we could drop this even to 400. And then that'll be 300 and 100% because we're still trying to figure out what our cut is. But I think we'll just leave it at that. One last preview check. One last frame check. And let's just go ahead and hit start, see what happens. Alrighty. So this is going to take how long? 5 minutes and 47 seconds. And it looks like, so that's doing well. Again, the lettering on this with the Lightburn is a lot better than what I noticed on the CutLab X. And it's doing the power settings, the labels of 70, 80, 90, and 100, which is pretty good. Which isn't bad. And now it's doing the speed. Showing rows of speed, columns of power. All this to try to figure out how to cut through 3mm basswood. I mean, who knew? But yeah, and like I said, trust but verify. So even though what we ended up with was the recommendations from Wainlux and saying, hey, the speed and the power, when using Lightburn, obviously there's some different settings there. And there's one last thing I just remembered. It might have something to do with it. And we might have to go into the machine or device settings, if I remember correctly. When I was going through and reading all this stuff, there might be something there. So much for a short live stream. Okay, now it's doing the top. The number of passes, which is 1, the lettering on that. And now we're doing the cutting. 300 at 70%, at 80%, 90%. And if we don't get anything cut out on this yet, I think there's a device or machine setting that we need to do. I'm smelling more cut. Smelling a bit more smoke. Now we're at 200 at 70%, 80%, 90%. And if none of these cuts, I'm actually pretty sure I know what's wrong with this. And it's user error. Now we're at 150 at 70. Now we're at 80 at 150. Now we're at 90 at 150 speed. I'm keeping an eye on this to make sure it doesn't burst into flames. Now we're at 100% at 150. And now we're down to 100 at 70%. a little bit of flare up there. Now we're doing 80%. Now we're at 90% at 100. A little bit of flare up. Now 100% at 100 speed. I don't know if that's cutting it or not, all the way through. Now it's doing the border. So yeah, this will be interesting to see what happens. You know, up my fan a little bit. Do the border. Jump over the camera cable. Okay, we're done. Now, did anything cut through? Oh, so close. So close. So we can pop that out the back. You can see that. But still, that is, so we're able to get one of those. So 100% speed at 100%. And I think there might be a problem with what we've got going on. And I think I might know what it is. So let's go back to Lightburn and let's take a look and make sure that we'll do 5, we'll do 100 to 300, and then 470 to 100%. Okay, and everything else I think we're okay. Now I just got to remember where this thing was. There were some settings for, is that it up there? Editor, advanced display, camera, we don't got all that. No, that's not it. What about the wrench? Origin, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not it. G-code's not it. That's not it. What was it? Maybe it's on the top here. So, no, edit, selection. Oh, I think this might be it. Device settings? There's the, okay, that was the same. S value is 1,000, so we're maximum spindle speed. Lightburn will output corresponding to 100% power. This much match the $30 setting in GRBL. Not sure what the GRBL is. So, wait a second. Console. And stream started, restoring, completed, buffer speed 30, we're looking for $30. Job halted. Cut layers, move console. And we're connected up to it, obviously, because we can move things around and it is printing. So that makes me wonder if it is the machine settings. And this might be it here. So 10, what was it, 30 report, inches, 13 now. Tolerance arc, homing, max spindle speed, 1,000, which is the same as what we did on the device settings, so that should be good. See, somebody was saying if this was a different number, it was too high of a number, that it would lower your output of your laser, that Lightburn would actually lower the power of your laser. Interesting. Tools. So device settings. Again, the S value. Let's try help. S dash value max. Which doesn't have anything. Interesting. Grr. Window frame. Range. Dock tools. But that's 1,000. The other one was 1,000. And the only thing that we got cut was, what was it? 100 at 100%. But it's supposed to be 500 speed at 100%. Let's make that 100. See what happens. So device, machine settings, max spindle speed. We'll just do 100, maybe. I don't know. We'll try this again. So what are we going to do here? Oh, laser tools. Material test. We'll go back to this. We're going to do 5. We're going to do 100. And then we're going to do 500. Let's do 1 to 500 again and see, maybe we'll see what happens with this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that should be good. Power, we still want the same thing. We want 4. And we want to have that at 70 to 100%. So that's what we're going to end up getting there. Okay, material setting. Supposedly the cut setting is supposed to be 500, so that's what the documentation said. I'm wondering about that constant power mode. Force the laser power to be constant regardless of the current movement speed. I don't think we need to do that. But then again, I haven't printed out anything. Haven't done a cut. And speed, that's the text. Final editing, we'll take that back to 500. No air assist. Preview, take about 5 minutes. Got to do another board. Seriously, or do I have a board that's not? Oh, I've got one here. So we'll just throw this one in there. And even though it has, what does it have on the side? Okay, so it has the partial one there. No big deal. I'll just move this over. So, should take 5 minutes. We'll do a frame. move that over a little bit more. We'll do frame again. I think that's good enough for government work. One last check. Alrighty, 100 to 500. We'll see what happens. I'm wondering if I should adjust it. If I should go 3, because it's supposed to be 500. Maybe do 3 to 600. Let's do that. 300 to 600. So that way we're doing a little bit below and we're doing a little bit above. 375, 4, okay. Do we really want 600? Because yeah, it was supposed to be 500. Power is still going to be 70, 80, 90, and 100. So hopefully within here we will get things cut out. Let's do 80% power. And we'll just do 3. So 80, 90, and 100%. 300 to 600. So that way we should sure, why not? And how long is that going to take? It's got a 3 minutes and 42 seconds. Frame it. Yep, we're good to go. And we're just going to go ahead and start and say, screw it. Let's go for it and see what happens. Ah, dang it. You know what I forgot? I forgot to double check the material editing. So the cut settings is 500 and that, so okay, so that's good. Text edit is 3060%, so that's good. But I'm not getting anything written. Nope, I'm not getting anything. So that tells me right there is that the device settings, we're gonna have to go back and do this all over again. Seriously. Okay, 5, 300, 600, and then 380 to 100. Okay, so we'll close this out and we go back to our tools and device settings, and obviously this S value max, which was 1000. If you drop that to 1000, it's going to reduce the power of the laser. Let's add a 0 and put 10,000 to see what happens. And then on the same thing, we'll do machine settings, and we'll add another 0. Here, something's going to blow up or get on fire. Back to the material test. We have 5, we have 300, we have 600, and we're good there. This one we wanted 3, and we're going for 80% and to 100%, which is what we want, that range. 3 minutes 42 seconds. Let's double check this. 50 and that, so we're good to go there. 3060, which we got good results on that, so we know that's good. Border exit 500 millimeters per minute for 100%. That's what's recommended by Wainlux. Let's do our framing again. Okay, we're good there. And Matter of fact, if you all want to take a look at that, I'll do the frame again. So it shows where it's going to go, and we're going to go ahead and hit, cross your fingers folks, cross them. We're going to need it. And let's see what happens now. Okay, the good news is it's printing the letters. So we might be onto something with the 10,000 setting on the machine and device settings. Okay, so that looks a little bit better now. So I'm gonna have to look up that video. There was a video that actually showed, that talked about, and it was late. It was late last night or the night before, but somebody was talking about, and I was so tired. Somebody was talking about the machine and the device settings, but I can't remember if it was 10,000 or 1,000, but there was some discrepancy that if you didn't change that number, that S value, it would reduce the power of your laser, even though you had it set to max on all these other things. So, we will see. A little bit of smell good. So that way it takes away the burnt wood smell. So let's see what happens. Maybe we'll get a successful cut. I don't know. If we don't, I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and read and study and watch more YouTube videos, so we'll see what happens. So it's doing the lettering. Lettering's coming out really good. So it's doing the speed, it's got the 375, 450, 525, and it's now printing out the 600 label. And now it is doing the number of passes, that label. So the next thing is going to be the actual cutting, hopefully. Everybody cross your fingers. So 600 at 80, 600 at 90, and 100, 525 at 70, 80, 100, 450 at 70, or 80, 90, and 100, I'm sorry. Now 375 at 80, at 90, at 100%, and now we're going down to 300 at 80%, 300 at 90%, and 300 at 100%. I don't know. I honestly, it's hard to tell if that's cutting all the way through. And if it doesn't, we'll have to rally our forces and check this out again. Okay, so we finished. Did it cut anything? No, it didn't cut anything. Seriously. So obviously, what we end up seeing here is a few problems, because we have the test that we did at 100%, or at 100, the speed of 100, at 100%, we were able to cut out a little tiny bit, but we had to push it out. And so maybe we need to go back and do, because we're not cutting anything out here, especially not at the 300. And yeah, it's nada. course, it is a 5-watt laser. So with that, let's do one more, and we'll do, because we got the cutout on this at 100% at a speed of 100. So let's go back to our material test, and we will go, because we got a little bit of a cutout at 100. So we'll make our minimum 100. No, our max is going to be 100. Our minimum 50. I think that might work. So we'll have we need to go back. There we go. Maybe it's not going to let me do that much. 50 millimeters? We'll do 60. It won't do 50. So we'll do 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. And then our power of 80, 90, and 100. Again, let's double check. And again, here, it's supposed to cut out at 500 at 100, but it's not. Well, we know that it was cutting out at 100 speed, at 100% a little bit. I'm really perplexed. Because that is going to be 100 at 100. Let's just leave it. Text is still good, 3060, because we got good results on that. We don't have air assist, we're doing fill. The border, let's just do 100 at 100, see what happens. Check out the preview again. This is going to be the last time. If I don't get it cut out on this one, we're going to pack it up and I'm going to have to go back with my tail between my legs. So there is that's how it's supposed to go. So we'll do all that, and we'll do the speed, and then I'll do the number of passes, and then it does the squares, cuts all those out. Well, it hasn't cut anything out yet, but supposedly. And then the border, and now it's going to say that's 8 minutes and 19 seconds. Wow. And that's because we're going 100 millimeters per minute. Let's frame it, see what happens. I think we can move it over a little bit more. I'll frame it again. Move it over a tiny bit more. Yep, I think we're good. And what we'll do is we'll go back and I'll just go ahead and press start. One last time. This is it. It's doing the lettering. So we know that's working. Heavy rain today. Yeah. Doing the lettering. The lettering comes out good, so that's good to know. Dun, dun, dun. First cut test. I don't know. We're not getting cut tests. we're not cutting. Well, we did one partial, almost cut. So we're waiting for a full cut. It's doing the number of passes, which is going to be 1. Now on to the cuts. 100% at 80, or speed of 100, 80% power at 90% at 100 speed. This looks a little bit more promising. Now 100% at 100 speed. You can see that's digging in there a little bit more. And now we're going 90 speed at 80%. That looks like it's digging in there. We're getting a little bit of burn there on the 90% at 90. And now we're 100% at 90. Now we're going to drop down to the 80 speed at 80%. I think that's digging in there. And again, it's a 5-watt laser, you know. Now it's at the 90% at 80. Now this will be interesting because the other thing I'll end up doing is going back to CutLab X and to put in the settings that I got from Wainlux for cutting 3mm basswood, and we'll see how that goes. So now we're at 70 speed, 80%. Oh yeah, I think that's cutting. Get a lot of burn. Now 90% at 70% speed. We'll see how many marks on my table I end up getting on my hobby mat. Now 70 at 100%. Now we're at 60 speed at 80%. Because again, the slower the speed, the more power that you're putting into the material. And now it's going at 60% speed at 90. We might be getting somewhere. And then 100% at 60. And then it's going to do the border. So and the border is going to be again, that's going to be 100 at 100, so that's going to take a little while. And we got a minute and 27 seconds left. So yeah, I'm really curious. I'm really curious to see what type of cuts we get at speed and power using Lightburn. And then probably another streaming video, what I'll end up doing, not today, we'll go back to the Cut Lab X and we'll see if the default settings of 500 speed at 100% power will cut 3mm basswood. And if it doesn't, that'll be very interesting to know, because that means that kind of what is not on here, but on their Excel spreadsheet that they gave everybody is off. And we got about, what do we got left? About 22 seconds, 20 seconds left. We're almost done. Got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bam! And we're done. The smell of pine or the basswood. So now, yeah, we cut. We got some cuts on the back, if you can see that. So we definitely got that. And basically, it's hanging on by a thread. So that works out good. But still, we don't have any clear cut going through here, which is interesting. So yeah, oh, wow. That was just odd. So we can punch stuff out, but at the 100, I wonder if these are messed up, if I put the labeling wrong. And some of these aren't cut all the way. So, interesting. I'm going to have to play around with this some more. So, well, I can push out, if I push from the back, but it's not 100% cut, but why did it cut around here and not on here? That is what is odd. I don't know. We did get marks on our hobby mat. So very interesting, very interesting. So what we should have got is 100%. At 100%, should have knocked that out. I think that I put the numbers wrong. The 60 should be up here and 100 should be down here. No, that's not right either. That is odd. I am not sure why that is like that. Okay, so there it is. Odd. That just doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm going to have to consult. I'm going to have to consult some people because I don't know what's going on. So this was kind of strange because we were able to do this and we were able to get a cutout even though we had to punch it out a little bit. Come on, focus. Come on, seriously? Of course, when I don't want it to focus, there it is. So the number of pass. So at 100, at a speed of 100, and we had a small cutout at 100% power. Of course, we had to push that through. But then when we do this one, we ended up getting 100% at 100, and we didn't get anything. So you can see the back there. Now I could kind of, maybe that one we can push through a little bit. But that's the 70 at 100, so I was able to punch that out. But you can see we got some cuts. It just didn't go all the way, which is odd. Why? Why is that? So obviously, something's not right. And I'm not sure why. Because supposedly on, now this is Lightburn, but the spreadsheet that I got from Wainlux talking about engraving and cutting, there's the, I have the 5-watt laser, and it talks about engraving and cutting and all that stuff, so you got that, and then, oh, that's the 10-watt. I have a 5-watt. That's why. I was talking about basswood, that's engraving, at a speed of 500 at 100% power, and that's a 10-watt in Lightburn. I've got the 5-watt version. Hmm. 2.5, 5-watt, 3, 2.8, engraving speed 2000, that's for 5-watt. You're supposed to do cutting and engraving. And we go here, but this is for the 10-watt. So maybe that's part of my boggle right there, is that I have a 5-watt and I'm trying to set it on a, based off of 10 watts. I think that might be the problem. My reading and comprehension is a little low. So, but that still doesn't answer the question, why did I get a cutout on 100 speed at 100% when I had 100 speed at 100% and I didn't get a cutout on this one? See what I mean? That's odd. But close. So, I mean, I could pop that. I can pop that one out through the back because it's just barely hanging on. As you can see, so it's kind of doing that thing. So I could, but it's not 100%. I mean, I can kind of force it out there at 100, but obviously I'm going to have to go lower because you can see the scoring on how, where it's hot or where it's white, and it's not, there you go. But on some of the other sides it's scored all the way through, so we're not getting an even burn on all of the sides. So we're getting a total burn on 2 of the 4 sides, and we're getting partial on that side and the opposite side. We still got a little bit of white in there, but on the other 2 sides, it's black and black. So maybe we need to run this at 50. Obviously not 100. So let's go back to Lightburn, laser tools, because we do have a 5-watt laser. And our minimum is going to, or maximum is going to be 100. And our minimum, 50. And power will go from 80 to 100. One or more is crossing the edge of the machine workspace. It will, no, I don't. Oh, because I have 10, imagine that. 3, and we'll just put 4, because that's what we want to end up having. So why is the speed 500? I don't want 500. The minimum is going to be 50. Minimum speed says 500. Why? It doesn't make sense. What am I doing wrong? Max speed is going to be 100 millimeters per minute. Now it says 60. Let's see what that gives us. 60, 73, 87, and 100. Okay. So I can't go down to 50 because that's too slow. But I can do 60. And we have 80, 90, and 100% power. So we'll, hopefully with some of these, so at 100 we should get, you know, let's just do 70. 70 to 100. 70, 80, 90, 100. At 80, 90, and 100. This is the cut setting. When we're trying to get to the cut setting, max power 100. Do we set this at 90? Just to see what happens? Text is still good at 3060%. We don't have any problems with that. The border, what was the 90 and 100? I guess we'll set this at 90 at 100%. And we'll do one last one. This should take 7 minutes, 14 seconds. Seriously. Why is it so long? Oh, because we're going slower. That's why. Duh. So we'll flip this over and we'll see if we can. Now let's save that. I'm going to do it on this one. Maybe I'll squeeze it in on this. So let's try this. We'll try to do frame. Move it over. We'll frame it again. And we'll move it over just a hair more. Frame it again. All right. This is going to be it. This is going to be the last one I'm going to do. We double checked our settings. We're good on that. We set our cuts at 90 at a speed of 90 and 100. 90 and 100. One last time, let's go, see what happens. A little camera overlay action there. Measure lettering's coming out great. We don't have problems with lettering. Lettering looks really, really good. The problem is the cutting. And that's the whole thing is we're doing a cut test. I can jump over the cable. I'm going to turn the fan up a little bit. So get some more air pushing everything out. The good thing is we're getting the engraving. We're doing the engraving, and that's working out well. It's the cutting is where we're having some problems. Five minutes, 45 seconds. We'll see what happens. Still doing the lettering. And I'm getting a base for this. That's not what I want. Let's see if I can find it. I think I ordered off of Amazon. Dismiss. Where's my orders? Let's see, we're cutting at 100 at 90%. We got 100 at 100%. And now we're dropping down to the 90. At 90%. Yeah, there's a lot of burning going on. 90 speed at 100%. Some air freshener. All right, speed of 80 and 80% power. Now we're at 90 at 80% speed, 80 speed at 90% power. 80 at 100%. And now we're doing a 70 speed at 80%. And we've got about 2 minutes and 36 seconds left.
Hey, it's Rich. Hello, easy.
70 speed at 90. Boy, that's chowing that up pretty good. And then a speed of 70 at 100%. And then it's going to do the border, which is going to be 100% of 90. So we'll see if that cuts. I don't know. if that's going to do it or not. Scotty, we need more power. And we've got, what we got left here? We got about 1 minute and 10 seconds left. And what do we got left? We got about 30 seconds left. Coming up, about 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're done. So let's see what happened on this. We lift this up and pieces fall. Nope. Pieces don't fall. But we did get some. See that. And there is the back. So that's interesting, but did it cut out? Okay. Well, we push it, and that came out, so that's encouraging. We still got a little bit of white on this edge versus these long edges, which are totally cut through, but it's just the top and the bottom that have a little bit of white on there. So for some reason, that's not cutting all the way through. When we're talking about our speed and power, can we push that through? Yeah, I think we can. But it's not like cutting clean. What about 70 or 90%? Yeah, we lost a little bit there. So maybe we need to space these out. So that was cut out, but it needs to be pushed out. What about the 80% speed? We just need to, seriously. Really. It's just on that top and bottom. The same thing there. You get a little bit of white, a little bit of white, but the sides are good. So, see how we got the white, black, a little bit of white, and then black on that side. So on the tops and the bottoms of these, they're not cutting through. So that's making me wonder, on all of these, the same thing. What about the 90? We get the same thing. Yep, we get a little bit of white. So it's that top and bottom edge that is causing problems. And the same thing with that one, except a little bit more. This is 90% or 100. And again, we're getting a little bit of white right there, which you can see. But the The sides are good, but it's just that top and bottom are getting a little bit of, what about the under, right? Go through. Again, we're getting more pronounced on the top and bottom, which is getting the white on the sides, we're getting a cut all the way through. So I don't know if this has to do with Lightburn, or if this has to do with the laser itself. But I will be doing a test and rerunning this, and I'm going to see if maybe I can make this somehow bigger so we can have more separation between the boxes. But yeah, interesting. So yeah. Very, very interesting. So let's get back to this. Okay, so we did our cut test. Obviously with a 5-watt laser, it's not 500 at 100% will get you a cut through 3mm basswood. It just won't do it. So what we need to do, obviously with a 5-watt laser, we're looking at times where, let me see if it's will focus, where we're looking at 70, 80, 90 for speed, but when we get to the 70 speed, it kind of overburns, and that's why we got the problems on the 80 and the 90 and that support in between the 80 and the 90. Funny how we didn't get it on the 100%, but that may be because of me. But the interesting thing is that when we look at the top, let's see if we can focus. You see the top there, how it's got white? And then if we flip it over on the bottom, there's white that shows that it wasn't cut. But when we look on this side, totally cut. And on that long side, totally cut. And that seems to be a reoccurring theme, even with this one here. So you can see on the top and the bottom, same thing. We're not getting a clear cut like we are on the sides. So the people who are smart with engraving and Lightburn and laser engravers and stuff like that, throw me a bone. Now maybe it's because it's only a 5-watt laser and it just is what it is. I'm not sure. But this is interesting on what we're seeing. So, a good reason to do tests to find out what works and what doesn't. And yeah, I mean, because the other thing you need to take a look at, like for example on here, you can see the burn marks. Come on, focus. Focus, please. Please. There we go. So you can see the burn marks at 60, at 80, 90, and 100%. Those are way overburned. So that's not something that you would want when you're doing a project. You'd probably want something a little bit more that's on 100 at the 100 up at the top there. But even then, there's a little bit of charring around the edges. But the thing is, it didn't cut through all the way. And what we're seeing with that, can I force this? Yeah, I can force it and snap it out. But the same thing on the top, I don't know, is that going to focus? Probably not. But on the top and the bottom, we're still seeing a little bit of white, so it's not cutting through. But on the sides, it's cutting through. So I don't know if that has something to do with the laser. I don't know if that has something to do with Lightburn. But I guess what I'll end up doing is going to the Wainlux Facebook page and on the K10 page and ask about this on what is what are the recommended settings for cutting 3mm basswood. So, yeah. How long has this been? An hour and 41 minutes? Good Lord, seriously. I mean, when I did these tests, I mean, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, we did the engraving tests, and those came out a lot better and a lot quicker. And depending on different power settings, this is actually a test that I did using Lightburn, and to see what we ended up getting there. But yeah, still experimenting and playing around with this stuff, but trying to do the cut test. Obviously, there's more to laser engraving and cutting than meets the eye. So that is what it is. So I'm going to have to dive deep into this to figure out what's going on. And again, it's just a little, I mean, yeah, it's a little 5-watt desktop laser. It's not like, it's not like X-Tool. It's not like a 20 or 30 watt or 40 watt laser, diode laser. It's a rinky-dink little desktop thing. So supposedly you can cut, but I think we're pushing the boundaries. And the interesting thing is we'll have to, I'll just close out that, disregard that, and try to bring up the CutLab X. We'll do it in another video, and we'll try to run, I'll make up a test on the CutLab X and see if we get similarities or any differences. Another thing I wanted to bring up is what I have ended up purchasing was going to be this right here. Matter of fact, I did order it on 16 October. It's a honeycomb laser bed, so that way I won't engrave into my hobby mat that is on my desk. It's already got some marks. So that's made of aluminum, or aluminium, as some people say, over the pond. And for fast heat dissipation, desktop protection, which is something I need. And it's like $49.99. Yeah, $49.99. But with some Amazon points, I think I ended up paying like 25 bucks, 24 bucks. So we'll see when that gets in. But yeah, interesting. Some interesting stuff, getting into laser engraving. And eventually, I'm kind of wondering where I'm going to go from here, because what's happening is I'm also interested in 3D printing. I do resin printing, so I do that. I got a bunch of miniatures and stuff that I printed out, like Deadpool, and I do some other stuff like this guy here, printed him out, some kind of Warhammer-esque tabletop gaming figures. I like painting those and doing that. I got a bunch in the bookshelf over there, the display shelf. So I do that, but then I also want to do FDM printing, but then Wainlux contacted me and said, hey, will you do a review on this K10? And I said, only if I can tell it like it is. And they're like, yeah, we're totally fine with that. So that one video they did was kind of like a paid endorsement, but I wasn't paid, but they gave me the machine, so it's considered a paid production or promotion type of thing. Which brings to mind, would I recommend the Wainlux? And we'll just kind of, yeah, there it is. So would I recommend the Wainlux as a desktop laser? Maybe. It's a neat little thing, and I've done some cool engravings, and I want to check out to see. I've actually ordered some glass. Obviously, I got some basswood. I've ordered some slate coasters, so that'll be interesting to see if we can do that. Engrave on some slate coasters with a 5-watt laser and see how that goes. But now I'm kind of torn between, do I get an FDM printer, 3D printer? Because Bamboo is supposed to be coming out with a larger sized, kind of like a 3D printer with a larger build area coming out this next year. It was supposed to be the end of this year, but it ends up that they pushed it back because they're doing more testing and so on and so forth. So let me turn this thing off. And I guess I can turn the fan down too. And so I'm interested in doing 3D printing, but I'm also interested in doing engraving. The question is, what am I going to get out of this besides just doing a hobby, spending money and doing a hobby? Can I do a side gig with 3D printing with larger build area? Bamboo's coming out, supposed to be this next year, January, February, March timeframe, somewhere in the first quarter of next year, supposedly. That's subject to change. And then there's a company called Raleigh Lasermatics, which is coming out. They've got a cool laser that is coming out. Actually, I think it's already out. Let me see if I can pull it up. Da, da, da. And let me show you that. So we have this here, and this is another one that I'm looking at because they've got some pretty cool stuff. So I'm really kind of interested in this. Let me make sure I get everything in the page here. But the Raleigh Automation and their Lasermatic MK2 XW is their newest large print area with 50% more work area than their previous versions. So it has a 24 by 15.3 inch work area, 610 by 390 in millimeters, available in 10, 20, and 30 watt configurations. Now my thing is it, so I'd get the 30 watt, obviously, with the rotary, go big or go home, right? So we're looking at about $1,900. But it's a large work area, a lot of 49% larger work area compared to the MK2. They share the same frame features and power output. The only difference includes integrated enclosure with camera, so that's good. Air assist, honeycomb table, and optional chuck rotary. 20 and 30 watt modules offer great power and faster cutting speeds, as well as a 10 watt engraving mode for detailed engraves. Okay, so that's why I would get the 30 watt. You know, you might as well go big or go home. It has air assist, pass-through slot, removable bottom panel. Comes completely assembled. You just got to take a couple things off. Matching jig table and bottom panel drop down mod available, whatever. Refinements, blah, 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 all of that. Yeah, Lightburn compatible camera built in. So in other words, it's going to show a view of your build area and you can put things on it. And like some other laser engravers, what it'll end up doing is that you can see the item, you can put your thing that you want to engrave or cut, and you can get some pretty cool details with that. So the XW uses a wide angle lens to cover the entire width of the honeycomb panel with slightly higher distortion, larger, more powerful X or Y axis stepper motor to move the heavier gantry. Y-axis max feed rate has been reduced to 13,500 millimeters per minute. Added center support post for larger honeycomb panel. And again, it's like, do I need a laser engraver? No. Do I need an FDM printer? No. But it's kind of cool. 3mm basswood at a 10 watt would take 83 minutes. At 20 watts, it'd take 59 minutes. At 30 watts, it'd take 46 minutes. So of course I'd go with the 30 watt. But it says here that, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Get through orders faster with improved optical power. 20 watt module offers 50% uplift in cutting speeds compared to the original while the 30-watt module cuts at twice the speed of the MK1. So 10, 20, 30, and you can see the relative cutting power, about 100%, 150, almost 200% there. So our higher powered modules feature a 10-watt engraving laser mode. Only 2 diodes are engaged in this mode, which reduces the focus spot size and improves engraving details. So basically what it sounds like they're doing is that you have a laser, diode laser, and then they're put in series, I guess, I don't know, parallel, and so they can turn some of those off and they can end up with a 10-watt laser mode. So you can have a 30-watt or you can have a 10-watt as it, I guess, steps it down basically. The 20-watt module approaches a typical 10-watt module in terms of detail while burning much darker. The 30-watt also engraves much better than a typical 30-watt module without a dedicated engraving mode. So yeah, that's what it sounds like they're doing. You got the rotary chuck. What is that? Updates? Okay, well, I don't want to do that now, whatever that is. You got the rotary, so you can do cups and mugs and glasses and things like that, whatever's round. Air assist, so it helps push the air to control or help cool down the part so you don't get fires. Robust cables, easy to clean module. Cutting basswood, 3mm thick. Spec comparison, so that'll be interesting. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at possibly getting is the XW. It's already out, and we're looking at about $1,300, but with the rotary chuck for a 30-watt, that's $1,850 basically. Without the rotary chuck, do I really need a rotary chuck? No, it'd be $1,650, so it's only $200 more. You know, you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. So there's that. And the other interesting thing that I'm taking a look at is supposedly the new bamboo large-scale FDM printer, which is something that I'm very interested in as well. But now the problem, before I got into laser engraving, I just wanted to get the FDM printer. And I was going to be happy. And I was going to be satisfied. So I do my resin printing, I do my FDM printing, and I could do, you know, little side gig things if I wanted to, and print to my heart's content, and paint my miniatures and figures, and be good to go. And then I got involved in the laser engraving with a little 5-watt laser there, and that's put a new fire into the thing that I want to do as well. So I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, yeah, 2 hours is long enough to do a live stream, and yeah, it is what it is. So, yeah. So the cut test didn't work out as well as we thought. We still learned some very important stuff, but it'll be interesting to go back and pose some questions on the Wainlux Facebook page to say, hey, what are the cut settings for 3mm basswood with the 5-watt laser? We'll see what they say. And we'll probably run these tests again using the CutLab X software. So that'll be interesting because that's a little bit different than, seriously, that's a little bit different than the Lightburn. Lightburn, you're going to have more bells and whistles. You can do more variables you can change, but with the CutLab X, you don't have as many variables that you can change, so not like Lightburn. So, matter of fact, so when we take a look at this is CutLab X, and you can do some things, you know, but not as much as what you can do on the Lightburn software. And matter of fact, you know, if you go up to the top, yeah, you don't even have the additional settings and tools. You can't do cut tests or, you know, burn tests or whatever, grid tests. You can open files, save, copy, paste items. You can drag stuff into the work area. focus. You can align things, mirror them horizontally or vertically, and then basically you have your properties, your cut and your layers, and you've got a number of colors down at the bottom here that you could have a number of layers, which is good because then you can set individual speed, engraving, and power settings for each of those layers like you can do on Lightburn as well. But with this, with the CutLab X, it's not as detailed as what we ended up seeing with Lightburn. So that is going to be interesting. So I'm going to run through this. Maybe that's what I'll end up doing tomorrow. Tomorrow's my off day from the gym, and maybe I'll make a cut test in CutLab X, and we'll see what kind of information. But I'm going to pose that question to the people at Wainlux for the K10, say, hey, what are your recommendations for cutting 3mm basswood? Because I'd like to know how to do that. And the other part of me that wants, I know I'm rambling, the other part of me that wants to have a laser engraver is because I want to make a paint rack for all my paints that I got. You know, I've got a little paint rack back there you can see in the picture. You know, I bought the paint rack, but it would be cool because I'd like to design or download other paint racks that I would like better than what I've got now. So I don't know. It's just so many things I'd like to do in my retirement years. I'm just not sure. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to do some reading, ask questions, and see what happens. And we'll see where that goes from here. If you have any tips, suggestions, help, things that could help me with Lightburn and or the CutLab X with the K10, or just general laser engraving information because I'm a total noob, put it in the comment section down below, and I would really appreciate it. All right, so that's going to be it. Signing off from Korea. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.